Minecraft has around 50 overworld biomes, and taking a look at some of those, it's clear that they need revamping, and although every update they do take a new biome to seriously update it, at that rate of one biome per year, it will take 48 to 52 years to get through all of them, and so I'm taking matters into my own hands. This is my update to every single biome to show you exactly how it should and could be improved. Anyway, this video is actually sponsored by IBX Toycat, and I'd like to say that subscribing not only lowers your risk of house fire, but it's also a great way to see more of these videos and help me on my goal of hitting 2 million. I'd appreciate that a lot, but either way, let's talk about the oceans first, because the oceans were updated recently, and I really like the before and after difference. Like, just taking one glance at this thing makes you realize how bad the ocean design was before and how much better it is now. I mean, there's decent biodiversity, there's dolphins, there's turtles, there's sea pickles, there's actually structures that spawn under there, which is really interesting. There's also 4 types of fish, and there's water, which has different colors depending on where you are with all the different temperatures. It is amazing. However, I'm not here to critique or say we need to improve that. I think this is an example of what should be done to other biomes. However, one part of the ocean biome which is seriously lacking is the land. Something you might not know is survival island seeds, which used to be oh so popular, actually are taking place on an ocean biome. These patches of land you find around the world are not a plains biome surrounded by ocean. They are a part of an ocean biome where they occasionally generate land. And this is a really interesting thing, except for the fact that it makes survival islands so dull, because you might have a tree and some sugarcane, and that's a fun way to start a world, but you'll never have mobs growing there in significant quantities unless you have another biome which is attached to your ocean, which does spawn in, sheep, chicken, and cows, and that is a really big bummer. The idea of being cast away and being shipwrecked on an island is such a fun one, but there is no real way to enjoy that in current Minecraft, and it's a big oversight of the ocean. However, most biomes aren't like where the ocean is right now, and they need that major update to begin with, and I think a great example is the taiga biome. They did technically update the taiga in 1.14, but the issues here run a little bit deeper than they can fix by simply adding sweet berries and foxes, both of which items, by the way, just tie ins with the other, don't have much of a point outside of that. That does make the biome feel a bit more alive, but that doesn't help when the biome is so boring to begin with. There are trees around, and that's just all there is. There's just trees that are awkward to navigate. There's an awful color of grass here, and honestly, we need to have more uses for the foxes, I would say, but also a more unique identity altogether. If that just means adding more useless animals, that's totally fine with me. At least that's a biome identity, but I think a great one would be distinguishing more between the taiga and the frozen taiga. The frozen taiga biome is quite interesting looking, but really it just has different snow foxes. What if it had a different type of cave, the frozen cave, the ice cave, which could only be accessed from this place? What if, because it is a frozen tundra, it's got a lot of, like fossil fuels, and what does that mean in Minecraft? More coal ore, just like how the mesa has more gold, the taiga biome could have more coal underneath it, and a real reason to come here if you want to make the coal blocks or a bunch of torches, or honestly just a reason to come to a place that feels alive and a benefit for settling down here. I think something else you could do if you wanted to, trade off that real reward for a real risk is you could have a version of the bear which spawns here naturally. We already got the polar bear. Why not have a brown version of the bear which also terrorizes you if you're near its young? Also, bears would be a great example of something they love to do, which is add things to Minecraft which teach people about the real world. Having bears, they could be brown and black, and they could teach you about what to do in each scenario, because I've learned that if it's brown, you've got to just lay down and play dead, and if it's black, you've got to fight back. But some black bears look like brown bears, and some brown bears look like black bears. I'd love to learn more from Minecraft, so I'm prepared for my inevitable real-world bear situation. Speaking of a bear situation, you're gonna have to bear with me when I say that the Mesa biome is a beautiful place. It's one of the best biomes that can really stand on its natural beauty. I mean, even though there is a variant of the abandoned mineshaft that spawns here with slightly different wood blocks, most people don't care about that mineshaft. They care about the generation of the place itself, which is really wonderful. However, I think you could make this an even more sought-after place, make it an even better reward for biome by adding a brand new temple to the game. I mean, we've got the jungle temple and the desert temple, and they're both interesting by themselves, but what if we made a hybrid that was the best of both worlds, the Mesa temple? I think a Mesa temple could be a really interesting callback to the desert temple, but also have traps inside and fun little games to play, just like the jungle temple does. This could be the first temple Minecraft adds where there's actual variants and reasons, like things you could learn about each different trapping, and it could be one of the more dangerous types because it's here in a Mesa biome, a very desolate desolate and remote place. I like that by itself, but I also like the idea of adding more sub-variants, because the first time you find a Mesa Bryce in Minecraft, you're like, whoa, and then you might even learn that that's a real place in real life, the Bryce Canyon, and you go, whoa again. What if the Mesa biome was filled with more variants that made people go, whoa? An example I actually saw from a Minecraft developer, this one is the Ember Valley biome. It's just a little mock-up they did to show some art. It is an amazing looking place that makes you go, I want to go and explore that, even just for the natural beauty. Maybe this is my personal bias for the Mesa coming through, but I think more Mesa sub-variants would be really interesting, because this is a biome that just inherently interests people, at least as far as I've been playing Minecraft. Speaking of things that inherently interest people, the jungle is the other key example of this, and the only possible way I think you can improve this biome is more pandas and birds. I do realistically think the biodiversity is also great here. The jungle is meant to be a place where you feel like there are unique things, and they totally nailed that. But the generation itself is at least better than fine, especially with these bamboo forests they added recently. However, I think that the biome should be filled with more mystery and exploration. The jungle temple is a fun idea, but is very rare and kind of weird and quite outdated. But that exact same sense of wonder can be created when you find, for example, your first ravine, which is filled with vines. It makes you go, whoa, and wonder what else you're going to find here. And so just having more formations of just, land destruction, almost like the way lakes work in other biomes, but dry lakes, just big old entrances into the ground, would be amazing to find here. And I think that's the way they could seriously improve the jungle. Speaking of improving things, I think that something that could be improved is the birch forest. And it's not just me saying this, Minecraft themselves agree the birch forest should be seriously improved. This is the concept art they showed, which, just to remind you, is not a commitment, by the way, but this is them proving that they think the birch forest would look better if it had, say, some fun mushrooms and some extra flowers on the ground. And I totally agree, because the current birch forest is just a regular forest but made out of birch trees. The only unique factor is that sometimes you get extra tall birch trees, and that is really the entire extent of this biome. What else differentiates it from a forest? Well, the leaves are different. Did I mention the logs are different? And also, oh no, that's everything. I'm sorry. So yeah, this is a place that's a little bit desolate right now, but I think they could really improve it. Obviously, adding these fun mushrooms to the top of trees could be a interesting new item, or it could just give you an opportunity to get mushrooms in a different biome. That would be fun. Having more things on the ground, that would be great too. Having more fallen trees even, or fewer fallen trees, doing more things to just make the biomes feel a bit different would be great. But I think also you could make the birch tree better than the oak tree in some small way to balance out the fact that the oak tree gets apples, which are incredible. I think make the birch tree have a 2x2 variant, just like the spruce and jungle trees already have. In fact, if you wanted to go really crazy with this, you could have a 3x3 variant just for the birch tree. I think that would be a lot of fun. And speaking of weird, fun variants of the forest, I think the flower forest is one that already catches people off guard. I think this is actually a really appealing place that probably does the job the title claims. It's a forest and it's filled with flowers. Who doesn't love that? Even with the bees in there, you get something a little bit extra, but I think that something they could take advantage of a bit more is this pattern. This is the pattern which decides which plants are going to go where, and it's the same for every single biome all of the time. It's always fixed that that flower will spawn there. I think this is so stunning and just so wowing to people. You could really take advantage of this to make people impressed, just like how the swamp has something which is really unique and kind of doesn't play with enough, because the only identity that it has right now is murky water and trees. It's funny because this is the biome they updated the most recently, but they did so by just adding a new variant that was amazing while leaving this one basically the same, besides frogs, which I'll admit are cute. But this is definitely an identity that could be expanded upon. Also, someone needs to ask this at some point, but why are there so many different variants of the oak tree? I mean, the oak trees in the Mesa biome, they're the same as oak trees in the regular forest. The oak trees for Azalea, they're the same as regular oak trees, and even the oak trees here in the swamp, they might look a bit different because of the vines, but they are still oak trees and they still drop apples. It's weird because no other tree makes its way around so many biomes, but that's I guess a different point. Something they could really take advantage of for the swamp though is this fascinatingly murky water. I mean, of course the water's murky, it's a swamp, that's why it's so muddy around here. What if we made this muddy water much more interesting and have it give a real use for the game? I mean, it makes sense that regular water and water which looks like this should have different purposes, and what if that's something that could be noticed by the brewing system? I mean, the brewing system, you have to use water bottles a lot of the time to make various potions. What if some of those potions, maybe the negative ones, had a little buff applied if you use this murky swamp water. Because to be totally honest with you, a potion of poison is going to be extra poisonous if your water is already pretty bad for you to begin with, and I think that could be a small bonus for it. That could be a reason to locate your brewing area over here, because you get a small boost from the water that you found in this location. You could really lean into the magic theme of this place, because there's already witches and cats and their fun witch huts. I mean, obviously those witch huts need a bit of sprucing up, I guess we could say, but you could also say that we need to, you know, work on stuff like these slimes and have more magic reasons to be here. I think a great example would be, well, there's like 17 trillion variants of the zombie and only one skeleton variant. What if there was a skeleton found here which would use and drop weakness arrows? You can add basically any tipped arrow to the skeleton to make it a slightly more interesting place, and I think as long as you stick to the vague theme of magic and murky, this is a great biome that will work in the future. Speaking of the future, this is the mushroom biome as it exists right now, and this is the mushroom biome in the future. It's exactly the same. It looks perfect exactly the way it is. I will not accept criticism. This is the one perfect biome in Minecraft. Even King B Dogs has come out and agreed that, yeah, having fantasy elements to the overworld can be really fun, because when you find one of these things, it's already amazing. The only complaint I would accept is maybe a mushroom cave, but that's because I think you could add any new cave biome and make it more interesting. This place is wonderful, this place is delightful, and we don't need to talk about it anymore, and we especially don't need to criticize its absolute beauty. I think more biomes like this, you know, weird mini dimension ideas, but they spawn on small islands in the middle of nowhere, thousands of blocks away from spawn. This can really encourage exploration, and, you know, honestly, if you're looking for new biomes to add, that's a great way to add one without really rearranging the world all that much. I think another biome that could do with a little bit of changing is maybe the forest, because the forest has a bunch of oak trees which drop apples. However, what if oak trees didn't just drop apples because they were oak trees, although I think they should still do that? What if they dropped more apples when they were specifically inside of a forest? What if there was some buff to actually locating your trees here, actually having a tree farm be located in here? I think that would be wonderful. I think Minecraft is a game where truly you can choose to do anything you like, wherever in the world you like, but in the same way you can make an ice farm, or you can just mine a bunch of ice a lot easier in a frozen biome, because the water turns into snow much lower and the, you know, the pools of it turn into ice. I think you could do the same with, say, forests, where, yeah, the trees are more effective. Either they chop down quicker, or they, you know, the leaves degrade faster into apples. You could make some small buff to the idea of an oak tree farm, so that people who need an insane amount of apples could take advantage and do it that way. I don't think this single-handedly makes a biome, but I do think it can improve it, like the Dripstone Cave, for example. It really does just have one block right now, and I think the only, you know, kind of selling point about why you'd care about these caves after that is that you'll find more zombies in here. And although, honestly, there aren't that many opportunities for you to want more zombies, unless it's a super flat world, but then you don't have Dripstone Caves, the truth is, being able to know there is a place you go to find these things is a really great idea. And so what if we, you know, added a brand new structure that you could find specifically here, and then the zombies would be kind of the obstacle on the way to that. And now it's not just a place you can find more zombies, it's a place you might have to watch out for more of those same zombies. I think that's fun personally, and I think the only other two biomes we can mention underground are the Lush Caves, which are really good, all things considered. I think this is a really well thought out biome. There's resources to find specifically here. There's things which are, you know, rare and kind of exclusive. There's a feel to the biome that is really, you know, great in my opinion. I think the Lush Cave is wonderful. A great example of a recent biome they've kind of hit it out of the park first time with, but I think, you know, besides the azalea trees being made out of oak, why do we have to pretend that every tree in Minecraft is made of the exact same wood? That's not how wood works in the real world. You don't have a bunch of different trees that are vaguely sort of similar to each other, and they all have exactly the same properties. But, you know, the interesting point we could make is maybe about the Deep Dark, because the Deep Dark as a biome is lacking. I think it's clear they need to do something about the overall biome. It's very rare, and the only real attraction is the Ancient City. But if we're going to say that the Ancient City is the point of the biome, and the point of the biome is the Ancient City, and vice versa over and over again, I think they could seriously improve this place, and here is my vision. Imagine the portal finally lights up. You're stunned as you see it, and you decide to walk inside as it takes you to a new dimension, and it's just a single sheep farm. They're all grey sheep, and you suddenly realize, Oh, that's how all the wool got to the ancient city. It all makes sense now. All those souls that I was worried about and that I assumed must have come from something horrible, they actually came from all the grey sheep that must have been killed just to create this mystical place. And I think if we're gonna have a fourth dimension, clearly it should be the sheep farm only dimension. What a wonderful idea, am I right? Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the biomes we put together for it, and you think that, yeah, this is a serious improvement. These are some of the fun videos to make on this channel, and I hope if you like this one, you'll check out my video on structures and how I think Mojang could improve every single one of them that hasn't been updated in the last 5 years. Spoiler alert, that's almost all of them. And so yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.